Hello, this is Ada Mayhunt explaining my responses for passage 3 in chapter 6 of Asking the Right Questions for cre101 with Professor Corbin. So to begin, I'm going to explain the conclusion reasons and fallacies for Bill's argument first, and then move on to the conclusions, reasons, and fallacies for Taylor. Excuse my lack of eye contact. I'm actually reading from a chart that I made. So for Bill, immediately I could tell that his conclusion was countries with terrorists should be declared enemies of the United States. And his reasons are that any country that does not relinquish terrorists to the United States clearly sides with terrorists, as well as countries that house terrorists also don't care about doing justice to murderers and rapists. Moving on to the fallacies that he used, Bill presents a faulty dilemma, and the reason I think this is because he said that if they house a terrorist, they obviously support the terrorist, but this is not necessarily a black and white situation. Just because a country houses a terrorist doesn't necessarily mean that they support terrorism, and vice versa. Just because they don't house a terrorist doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't side with terrorism. Bill also begs the question, and I know this because his conclusion is evident from his reasoning. No question about it. I just knew immediately what his conclusion was from what he was saying. And he appeals to emotions as well as introducing irrelevant information by saying, this sort of action means that the leaders of the countries do not wish to see justice done to the terrorist and care more about hiding murderers, rapists, thieves, and anti-democrats. And I think this is irrelevant because even though these people are awful, it is not related to the argument, and it is definitely an assumption on his part that these leaders would not be concerned with bringing justice to these people. And then moving on to Taylor, her conclusion was a little bit harder for me to find. But I'm pretty sure it was just a counter of Bill's conclusion. Therefore, I'm thinking that her conclusion is that countries with terrorists shouldn't be considered enemies. The reasons that she gave include, if you declare one country an enemy, then you will eventually lose all allies. And then aside from this, I can't really see any more reasons in Taylor's argument, because her argument was shorter and had less information from what I can tell, but she did have some fallacies that she was using. So she definitely used slippery slope reasoning, and the reason I'm saying this is because she claims that if you declare one country an enemy, then you will eventually have to declare every country an enemy. Slippery slope reasoning suggests that one action will cause a chain reaction, and that's how I'm comparing these two things. She thinks that one thing will lead to an inevitable chain reaction. And then her other fallacy that I noticed she used was Taylor also attacks a person by saying, that's exactly what I would expect from blank. Rather than attacking the information, she attacked Bill directly with what she said. And that's it.